If you love steaks the way that I love steaks, then you definitely want to know the difference between a chuck steak and a tenderloin steak.
Big thanks to Lotus Grills for sponsoring this episode.
The day that you're grilling up steaks is always a good day. And the reason why is because it's just one of the most tasty pieces of meat. It's like perfection, like in a little form factor. Because steaks are juicy, they are tasty, but there's a lot of debate of which one creates the perfect steak. I know a lot of guys are gonna say, give me ribeye every time. And I must say, ribeye is one of my top choices. However, there are so many other choices. Just take one of my favorites, the tri-tip, or even better, the skirt steak. There are so many options that it's hard to choose. But what it comes down to is that it's always a compromise between flavor and tenderness. And today I picked the two most extreme steaks. The first one that I chose is the chuck steak. It's kind of like the affordable version of a ribeye steak. The only downside to it is that it's more tough than a ribeye steak. But flavor-wise, it's one of the best steaks you can get. It's got a lot of intermuscular fat, it's working muscle. That means it used a lot of hemoglobins and transformed all of that energy into flavor. So on my list of favorite steaks to cook is the chuck steak. Most of the time I just like to slow cook it for a long period of time. But on a rare occasion, if I got the right one, I also like to just grill it up as a steak and serve it up. And every single time this steak surprises me because it's just that good. The other steak that I selected for today is this. And I know this is not a steak yet, because this is where the filet mignon comes from. But if you order a filet mignon, you're gonna get a small cut and they're gonna make you pay extra. So that's why I like to buy the whole thing and portion it myself, so I can have nice thick steaks and pay less. Now you see that there's a centerpiece and that there's a part attached to it, and we're gonna take that off. This is not the most tender part. And personally, I don't even consider this to be a part of the tenderloin. For me, this is the tenderloin. Now you see that there's silver skin on top of it. I'm going to remove that as well. It's got nothing to do with tenderness, so it's just got to go. Now that we got this beautiful piece of meat, I'm going to portion it up into steaks. I'm going to do that by starting in the middle, and that might seem weird, but I want that perfect steak. Oh, look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Wow. And I want my steak in this case to be 3 fingers thick. Now 3 fingers thick, it's hard to come by if it's pre-portioned, but it's going to make all the difference if you're going to get a nice, juicy, thick steak. As you can see, I can get 4 real steaks out of this, and the rest is just extra, but I got a good tip for that. I'll show you what to do with this later on. Look at how beautiful these are. The filet mignons are insane. So super gorgeous. And one of the cool things about the filet mignon is that if you cut the piece, then the grains already run in the right direction. You see they run in this direction, and they have kind of a coarse grain structure. And that's funny because mostly that means you're gonna get a tough piece of meat, but since you're cutting it with the grain, it's not really a working muscle, you're gonna find that it's very, very tender. Now the tenderness also comes with a price, because since it's not a working meat, it's not that flavorful. It's beef, it tastes like beef, but you know, it's not. It doesn't have oomph, you know? It's not like we put something on, it's gonna taste, wow, man, I'm eating beef. Oh yeah. Never mind. But more importantly is how they stand up to each other and how big the difference is. To find that out, we need to grill them, but first I'm gonna season them with a little bit of PITMASTERX Texas barbecue rub, which has a little bit of salt in it, a little bit of pepper, garlic, onion powder, and it's absolutely perfect for brisket, but it is evenly perfect for steaks. There we go. A little bit of seasoning on the outside. We're gonna do the same for the chuck, of course. Flip it around. Oh yeah, getting hungry now. Wish you guys could smell this. Every time I open up that seasoning bottle, put it on beef, you instantly start smelling the end result. I could have carpaccio like this. I could eat it right now, but I don't. I'm not going to. I won't. I'm not going. No, no, no. I'm gonna keep my composure. I'll be cooking my steaks on the charcoal grill, but this is not just a charcoal grill. This LotusGrill is also a hybrid grill. And what that means, I'll show you right now. I'm gonna open it up, get the charcoal basket out, get the base out, get the bowl out, and then here you find 2 slides. I'm gonna close this and open that. At the back, I now have an open port. I'm going to connect this hose, put the bowl back in, screw the other connection in, connect the gas bottle, open up the gas, light it up. And now I've turned my charcoal grill into a gas grill. Now that is hybrid. And for the people who wonder what they're supposed to do with the gas grill, well, in some parts of Europe, you're not allowed to use charcoal in a campsite because well, people burn it down. That's the main problem. Every year there's this one guy that burns down this whole nature reserve, and that's when you want a gas bottle. Or you might be traveling, you want to go light, you don't have room for a whole bag, you just want to take a couple of bottles, and these are the same ones you put your little kit on that you're grilling on, or if you're in a boat and blah blah blah. There are about 1,000 reasons why you want to have this option. Plus, the main thing is like you have the charcoal grill and then you can turn it into a gas grill. And we see more of these things happening where they convert one type of grill into another type of grill, and it's freaking awesome because it means you can get to do things with the same grill that you otherwise couldn't. I'm going to put the cast iron grill grate on with the grilling surface pointing upwards. There we go, and I'm going to let this slowly come up to temperature. Now, the cool thing is that this thing has a lid, and you have different types of lids, but what it does, it kind of traps the heat inside, and we need that because we'll slowly let those steaks come up to temperature. And the cool thing with the gas feature is that you can set it super low. I'm going to put these on. Look at that. Those giant steaks fitting on your compact grill. I think this is probably 4 big guys, but in reality, if you followed like what people should eat, about 200 grams of meat. Officially directory say it's 75 grams of meat, but personally I change it a little bit to, how do you say that? Afronden? Like if you let's round it off at 200 grams. We eat 75 grams of meat. Come on, don't be ridiculous. Let's keep it real here. Now, we're gonna let this thing do its job. It says it's currently 20 degrees Celsius. Well, ta-da, it's 20 degrees Celsius outside. And I'm going to just let this slowly go up. And we'll wait for it. While the steaks slowly come up to temperature, we're going to need to flip them because the heat is coming from below. That means at the bottom they will cook a little faster than from the top. So I'm going to flip these around. Whoa. And what I want to do is while I'm here, I'm also going to check the temperature. The core temperature of these steaks, 42 degrees Celsius, 43. So I measured different temperatures at different parts of the steak, so I'm going to flip these around, put the lid back on, let them cook a little further, but we're not going far because we need to keep our eyes on these, making sure that they don't go over the 52 degrees Celsius core temperature mark. And currently the barbecue is running at a temperature of around 80-90 degrees Celsius. This thing is an absolute beauty. Well, there's nothing coming out, no smoke, no craziness. It's just cooking the steak slowly. Really nice. Richtig nice. The chuck steak is ready to be coming off. Look at that, it's almost falling apart. Whoa. That is a good sign. That's gonna make for one nice tasty steak. I'm going to let it rest now because with the resting we're going to let the cooking process stop because the residual heat that sits on the outside of the steak is still cooking the steak. So we're currently running at a 52 degrees Celsius. That's going up to 54 degrees Celsius, which is going to give me a beautiful medium rare, but we need to take it off. It needs to stop cooking. Right now, stop. These got to come off as well. I'm going to give the steaks about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to increase the gas flow. All I need to do is just hit the plus on the gas, and this is going to come up real fast. It's just shooting up. In the meantime, I'll be melting some butter. That's why I'm putting on my Scotsburg pan. If you want to win competition style steaks, always add butter. I'm also going to put in 2 cloves of garlic, a little bit of parsley, shred it up a little bit. And I got a present from my friend Big Meat Love. He sent me some big butter, which is basically butter flavoring. I'm going to stir this up, mix it up. I want the ingredients to fry a little bit, but not too much. I don't want the butter to start to become brown or dark or anything. Time to put the grill grate back on. Once the grill is hot, I'm going to take the lid off. Putting the lid on helps a little bit to speed up the process of getting the grill grate hot. It's cast iron, so it's going to be super hot anyways, but we like the nice sear. There we go. Some butter on. We're just looking for a nice golden crust, nothing crazy. That is looking good. Let's flip this around. A little bit more butter on top. There we go. More butter on. Yeah, baby, get in there. Do your thing. Time to flip the chuck steak. I need flavor on my steaks. There we go, careful. I'm gonna put that last bit of butter in there because the last thing that I want is let this butter go to waste. I'll be using some of that butter to brush onto the steaks, make sure I capture all that flavor. And since I've already let the steaks rest, I don't need to let them rest any further. I just put a little crust on them. But now comes the time to start slicing into these. And I bet you it's gonna be good. Whoa, look at that thing. That is one beautiful looking steak. It looks so good. Just gonna take a couple of slices out of it. You see it's falling apart on itself. Now let's compare that to the filet mignon. What does that, is that even more tender? Wow, that is one good looking steak too. Which one am I going to like best? I'm going to select a beautiful piece of chuck and a beautiful piece of tenderloin. First I'm going to go with the chuck. Flavor, that is good. That is really good. But how does it hold up to the tenderloin? That is so good. To do this comparison, I selected two steaks that both came from the same type of Black Angus mixed with Holsteiner cow. So I know I have a good comparison. The chuck is definitely tougher, but not in a way that you can't eat it. It's just a steak that needs to be chewed. But this chuck is really, really good, and it's super tender for chuck steak. And that makes it even more difficult to make a decision. Let me tell you first that I have high expectations of a tenderloin because I pay the most amount of money for the tenderloin. The chuck steak is very cheap on the other hand. But now, this chuck steak is so good that if I didn't take the price into consideration, they're super close. The chuck steak is just a little bit more fatty than the tenderloin. And I think we need to give the win to the chuck steak because the price is so much lower. It's so undervalued compared to the tenderloin. Even though the tenderloin is a great steak, just like I want to know, would you rather buy a tenderloin or would you rather buy the chuck steak? If you're paying the bill, I know which one you're going to prefer. Insane, this tastes so good. In the meantime, let me show you what to do with the extra trimmings of the steak. I'm going to cut them into dice sizes, and then I'm going to drizzle on a little bit of olive oil, some red wine vinegar, and then the PITMASTERX gyro seasoning. And once that's mixed together, you got the perfect marinade for tenderloin kebabs. All you need to do now is just put it on a skewer, and don't put too much on it because this might go a long way for a party. Because you're going to stick this in the fridge or the freezer, and the next party you're going to, you're not showing up empty-handed.